Welcome to the Mountain Brew Coffee pregame show. For Tahoe Trucking Media, I'm Keith Thomas, joined by head coach Josh Ivens. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks, Keith. Glad to be here.
Congratulations, a huge win last week in Fallon on the road. Not sure what Fallon was going to be this year. End up coming away with a 42-0 victory over them, and they had not been shut out since 2014 by Desert Pines in the playoffs. Talk a little bit about that victory, how everything came together for that, because you were missing a couple of players, but you had some players really step up.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows by now. Joe and Rylan Louder are out. We're not sure when we're going to get them back. The good news is we probably will get both of them back. We just don't know when that's going to take place.
Right.
And we're just trying to maintain a level of excellence that we've always maintained. And
next man up.
And unfortunately, when you lose a couple guys like that, it hurts. But our guys have rallied. Guys have seized their opportunity, so to speak. And we still have a lot of speed on this team. Losing Joe, obviously, we don't have as much, and Rylan. But the guys that have stepped into those roles are also pretty fast. So we still have good team speed, and team speed is helps you be successful. So as far as going out to Fallon and in that particular game was our mindset was the same mindset we usually have. We were expecting I was not expecting to blow them out 42-0, if I'm being honest. But we were clicking. We got on them quick, which we've done on a few teams this year.
Yeah.
And we've made some plays early, and once this team has momentum, man, it's like sharks in bloody water, man. It's we get after it.
Well, and we have to go back to the offensive line because they opened some holes. Sophomore, number 24, Ivan Esparza, he impressed the heck out of us out in Fallon. That kid has some speed too, and he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, he's. Right now, him and Jace are the two fastest kids on the team.
Yeah.
They're both running 4.5, sub 4.5,
yeah,
right in that area. So they're fast. They can move, and trying to get just Ivan in space, and we know once he gets to. If he gets into the third level, it's going to be hard to catch him. So, which we saw, last Friday.
Yeah, he busted one, I think it was 64 yards on his touchdown run.
69.
69 yards on the touchdown run. Ran for over 100 yards. Estabrook ran for over 100 yards. The interesting thing about that is really the rushing game for Truckee has really stood out, averaging 262 yards a game on the ground. Mm-hmm. So you don't really have to rely on the passing, but still over 100 yards a game through the air.
Yeah, we would like to be a little bit more balanced, but when it's all said and done, our best receiver is also Joe, and so things have it's shifted kind of, and I wouldn't say we're where we want to be yet with the pass game,
yeah.
And that's something that keeps us working towards something in the each week, and
well, number 10,
we
Logan
can
Arado.
Pass, so I think we still have the threat of it, and
yeah.
people have to defend it, especially with Jace,
yeah.
when he drops back. So, you definitely have to game plan for it.
Well, number 10, Logan Arado had a great game as well. He had a couple of touchdowns, and he's not very slow himself. He's got some speed.
No, he's right in there with the rest of the team.
Yeah.
We got several guys running like a 4.75 to 4.8-ish.
Yeah.
He's in that group. He's actually hit 4.6 before, but it's been a while. So, we got good speed. And Logan's one of the smartest football players we have. We've had to move him around in certain spots with some things that have taken place even this week. And, he knows the whole playbook from each spot that I put him in. And that's a very valuable asset is to know our offense, because it's not necessarily a basic offense. It's fairly complicated.
Well, I think I asked you one time how many plays you had, and you said you had like 10 different formations and like 6 or 8 different plays out of each formation, or more than that. I don't want to overestimate, but
it just keeps growing too. So
yeah.
When you have players that can make plays, you're trying to create things to get them, the ball and let them do their thing. And I think that's one of the things that without Joe, it's actually probably going to make us stronger right now, getting guys confidence in the offense and finding other playmakers.
The progression of high school football has dramatically increased over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Absolutely incredible.
Yep.
I know there wasn't a question in there. Let's talk a little bit about Lowry tonight. Homecoming week, there's lots of distractions, powder puff game. This football team seems like they are really dialed in and getting down to business.
Yeah, they're no more distracted than they normally are. They're teenage boys, so the powder puff and things, that's tonight. So hopefully they have fun and we can move forward from that and focus on getting a W tomorrow night. I feel like practice has been what it usually is. It's not something that we've lost focus or anything. I think they know the task at hand and it's trying to keep this thing rolling.
Well, and tonight's game against Lowry is the last Friday Night Lights game of the season, unless you guys decide to do lights during the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no plans to do lights in the playoffs. We kind of settled on these 3 games. It made the most sense.
Yeah.
We're just happy to be able to play this many games under the lights and be able to have a homecoming under the lights. If it wasn't for all the people that have, in particular John Newberger, who's really stepped up to make sure that the student body has this.
The principal for Truckee High.
Right, and he's shifted the money to make it happen, and we always make sure we pay our fair share into the pot as the football program. They let soccer also have night games this year.
And the volunteers that help set them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to get it done. Yeah. But in the end, you see the difference if you go watch our first game, which was a day game against Amani Ranch. And it was raining too, so you can't really base it fully on that. But there was not nearly the amount of people at that game than at the St. Vincent game was packed and exciting.
With the weather, we benefited at Tall Truckee Media from that because we had people that decided that they would sit on their couch and watch the game rather than come out in the weather. But every Friday night game has been standing room only. It's been absolutely electrifying.
Yeah, and the kids. It's all comes down to the kids and the student body. Hopefully someday we get permanent lights and Truckee's actually, one of those stadiums you could come into. And it's a relic right now. There's parts of it that I just never want to be touched, but at the same time, it needs a facelift.
Well, and I was reading a post, I think it was on Instagram. It was built in, 1974?
Yes.
Yeah. And not much has changed, except we had to add more bleachers on the visitor side because if you don't have enough seats on the visitor side, then you can't host a playoff game. That was one of the NIAA rules. So all of a sudden we expanded the seating on the visitor side, but the home side, those are full virtually for every home game. And also standing room only, especially on Friday Night Lights game. I think it's just Elko and Truckee that still have grass.
Lowry has grass.
Oh, Lowry still grass? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I'd have to think about it. Sparks still has grass.
All right, so there are a few that still have grass. Yeah. Okay. My bad.
Right now, I'd say there's still more people with grass. It's Fallon, Fernley, and South Tahoe have turf.
Okay. Fallon just added a turf in the last year or so.
Yeah. And if Dayton comes back into our league, they also have turf.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about Lowry. Number 1, Eric Valencia leads the team in rushing and leads the team in passing. He's got a lot more yards passing, but it looks like their offense is fairly balanced on the number of plays, at least through the first 4 games they had. I don't have the stats for the Elko game, which was last week, which they lost. Lowry lost 28-7, but they turned the ball over 5 times in that game, 4 interceptions. So talk a little bit about how you're going to stop the Lowry Buckaroos tonight.
Well, we got to contain number 1. You could see. I remember talking to you about him last season when he got hurt. That changed the
completely changed
the game,
Yeah.
right, and the team. And now he's back and he's healthy and he's a dynamic player. He is, a guy that can keep them in games and he makes plays. So they have probably even more pass attempts than that. It's just he's running around during a lot of those pass attempts. So probably one of their best plays is him just dropping back to pass and scrambling around and making plays. It's one of those things where there's certainly a design to their offense or whatnot, but when things go bad, he can make something bad
happen.
into good. And those types of players are dangerous. I think this is a dangerous team because they have nothing to lose coming into Truckee. And
cannot
I'm
overlook
sure that's
any team.
what he's telling his guys is that we got nothing to lose. Let's go. They gave Elko all they can handle. The game really should have been 7-0 at halftime, but they, Valencia ball bounced off his face mask on a punt, and so unfortunately, and then Elko threw up a fade the next play and scored, so it was 14-0 at halftime. But it really could have been 7-0, and there was a touchdown called back where Lowry was holding and things. So when I look at this team, he's good enough to keep them in a game and keep some momentum on their side. And we gotta, when he's touching the ball that much, we gotta take care of business on him tomorrow night. We gotta shut him down.
Yeah. And I talked to Sam Brown, the Elko radio broadcaster. I actually listened to that game because it wasn't televised. But he said that Lowry moved the ball down the field on Elko, multiple times, and then they ended up turning it over twice in the red zone and then 2 other times in Elko territory. The 28-7 score really doesn't reflect the ball game that happened out at Lowry.
No, that they had 2 interceptions at the 1 yard line, and then another one that was down at like the 20 yard line. Yeah. So they're definitely threatening to score.
Yeah.
And they just weren't able to capitalize. Elko's got good playmakers and ball hawks, and they made some good plays as well.
Yeah. Well, it's been an exciting season so far. Truckee's 6-0 on the season, looking to make it 7-0 against the Lowry Buckaroos. For Dan Martin on the camera, Rory O'Farrell in the studio, I'm Keith Thomas. You've been watching the Mountain Brew Coffee pregame show on Tahoe Truckee Media. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. Wolverines.